I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Centennial initiative. I'm based here in Atlanta usually, although I'm spending this year up at American University in DC. But I want to roll the clock back a little bit to remind you about a very famous presentation that was made here in this very room 4 years ago. And there's a reason I'm telling you this. Gary Fauché made the shortest maths presentation that I've ever seen, and I think that anybody's ever given. He said 20 words and sat down, and the room went nuts, as you may recall if you were here. These were the words he said. And it is a puzzle, it's a more sophisticated version of a conditional probability puzzle that Martin Gardner, of course, wrote about many years ago. The source of this one's interesting. It was actually come up with by two mathematicians, Mike and Tom Starbert, who are brothers. So we'll have more to say about that later, but there's a surprising answer that you may not have seen before. So Martin Gardner I think of as the best friend mathematics ever had. So this is the photograph I took of Martin the first time I visited him. I think it was 2006 or 2007, and he had this enormous bookcase, and I made him stand beside it because I quickly realized that he hadn't just read all these books, he'd written all these books, and there was actually 6 shelves. There's 2 more below the belt there. So I call it Martin Gardner standing by every word he ever wrote. He wasn't very fond of a camera. He was kind of shy, which is interesting but surprising, but he was a very modest man, a very sweet man. The Gardner Centennial Initiative has a board, and our goal is the following: to try to make his name as famous as it was when some of us were growing up, because maybe it isn't anymore, but maybe by October you can help us achieve that goal. In particular, we'd like to build a vibrant, inclusive, connected community of Gardner advocates. And Martin brought amateurs and professionals together, and I think we need to work on that more too. Teachers and learners, lifelong teachers, a celebration of mind participants and otherwise, and also the people in this room, the converts, but we need to get beyond preaching to the choir. We need to reach other people, young people and old, in and outside of North America. It should be a worldwide initiative, as Celebration of Mind is. We have a new website coming up and some social media opportunities and a couple of specific things you might be interested in that are going to unfold in the coming months. And the idea is to get a lot of momentum and somehow keep it going, because he only gets one centennial, but January of next year, we want more people to be having fun in math classes and so on, and you can help us do that. Here's the core committee: Bill Ritchie and Chris Morgan, very involved in Celebration of Mind for a long time. Dana Richards, Martin Gardner's biographer, who'll be speaking very shortly. DJ Grothy is from the James Randi Foundation. Jim Gardner, you'll also be hearing from shortly, and Vicky Kern from Princeton University Press. We have a big advisory committee with some top-notch people here. In fact, I think, if my computations are correct, 13 of the names I've just shown you are people who are in this room. Would you mind standing if you're on either of these lists so people can see who you are? There should be 13 people standing. So look around, and these are the people who are helping us to put this together. Thank you very much. And if anybody would like to make this more diverse, more international, please talk to me afterwards. Okay, well, why are we doing this? Obviously, coming up in October, we have Martin's 100th birthday. And, Steve Jobs gets a lot of credit in the computer world, and Martin used to get a lot of credit in the math world, and we need to fix that so that Martin continues to get more credit for turning people on to math. I think when you meet people under 40, under 30, they often haven't heard of him, and that continues to be surprising, but I think we can change that by putting, fun back into mathematics and following Martin's lead. He left us plenty of material. It's not about him, it's about the legacy, the written legacy. Celebration of Mind's been doing this, but maybe we can broaden that and make it so that people think of Martin's name first and foremost when they think of mathematics. That would be an awesome goal. So we're also obviously going to acknowledge his other interests, which include science and rationality and skepticism, magic, and his literary interests, which in particular would include Oz and Alice in Wonderland scholarship. So I would love it if by the end of 2014, when I Google the name Martin Gardner, I get as many hits as I get today when I Google these names. Carl Sagan and Richard Feynman are very visible. They did lots of videos. And Martin didn't do very many videos, so he's less visible. He was a shy man. He hid behind his typewriter. So we need to help him get more famous. And I really need your help to make this work. We all need your help. As I said, we want to make this international and cross age and gender and so on. We have a new website on the way, and it's nice to have in one place a lot of good information about Martin. It'd be awesome if we got a Google Doodle. We've been asking for a few years, but if we don't get it this year, this is the 100th. So we're really hoping that his profile is so large that Google just feels this is a natural this coming October. And Scott Kim has done an incredible interactive design based on the letters of Martin's names and many of his well-known interests. So I think we have a good shot at this. If you have any connections there, please let us know. We also, as I said, want to make it so that this continues. And I think if we curate his legacy properly, it will continue. 100 years from now, people should be talking about Martin Gardner's written works. And it won't happen if we don't make that happen. He's never going to be in the same league as Mark Twain or Charles Dickens for obvious reasons, but the name should be known. And people should be reading and getting the pleasure we all got out of his material in years to come. So here's some specific action items. We have a Twitter following that was launched here at this very podium 2 years ago on the 1st of April, the last Sunday of G4, G10. And if you're on Twitter or if you know anybody who's on Twitter, please encourage them to follow this. It's What Would Martin Gardner Tweet? So since it's What Would Martin Gardner Tweet, it's never about him. It's about fun stuff. He was a modest man. He wouldn't be bragging about himself. So it's a great resource, I think, for fun things to link to and give to students. In the morning, it tweets about math and puzzles and so on. Weekdays, so the teachers can take advantage of it. And in the weekends, maybe a little more fun stuff like optical illusions, skepticism, Alice, and so on. And then excerpts from his wonderful memoirs. If you don't have a copy, you need to get yourself one. Excerpts from those go out at 3 o'clock every day, Eastern Time. There's also a new Twitter account, which was just launched recently, and it's got over 500 followers so far. And this one, since it's about the Centennial, of course, isn't shy about telling you about Martin. So we got quotes from Martin, links to things he did, lots of amazing stuff. And I would encourage you. It generally tweets at those 2 times, but during these meetings, both of these accounts have been tweeting every 2 hours during daylight hours. So there's lots of opportunities to catch up. There's an orange piece of paper that's on the table that has some of these links on it. I know the stuff's going by fast, but feel free to take a look at that and take it with you. We don't want to leave it here for the recycling folks, so make sure you take those. We have a new webpage for harvesting testimonials, and I'm thrilled to say that the people who've been contributing to this have varied from 9th graders to people much older than even me. So we would love to have more people. Some people say, oh, well, I'm not famous. It's nothing to do with being famous. Martin was not fussy whether you were famous or not. If you were interested in fun stuff, he wanted to talk to you. He responded to all letters, whether you had credentials or initials after your name or not. So it doesn't matter if you're 14 or 94 or in between or beyond. Please go to this website at martin-gardner.org/testimonials. If you just Google his name and testimonials, it will come up. And we'll put it up within a day or 2 of getting it. We also would like to extend his reach on Google+. And as you can tell, this is a very easy Google+ address to remember. The reason, of course, being that it's the only number which has this prime factorization. Actually, if you Google Martin Gardner Centennial Google+, you will find this instantly. And it even works on other search engines. So please, if you're on Google+, join the circle here. Now, Mathematics Awareness Month is the subject matter of the next presentation, so I'll just say very briefly that it's coming up starting the 1st of April, which is very soon, and it celebrates Martin's legacy in North America, specifically in the US, via a theme which is Math, Magic and Mystery, the name of his famous book from mid-1956, which predates the Scientific American days just about. The website for that is mathaware.org, and Bruce and Eve will have a lot to say about that right after I step down here. It's also on Twitter, and the Twitter following has been skyrocketing in the last couple of weeks. So we'd encourage you to find that. It's also on Facebook. NPR, we are confident, is definitely going to cover Martin's Centennial, and maybe even Math Awareness Month if we're lucky, in April and October. And thanks to Keith Devlin's connections there, the NPR math guy. So, you know, if we get an NPR, more people are going to know about Martin, but we need you standing in the wings to jump in and take advantage of that in any way that you can. Math Awareness Month kicks off on the 1st of April in DC, where the Math Association of America's headquarters is. There's going to be a presentation there called Math, Magic and Mystery and the Man Who Brought Them Together. And right before that, there's going to be an interesting unveiling of some bricks honoring Martin. This is kind of for a mathematical walk of fame. And this is item 8 on the list, and these will be unveiled right before the talk. So if you're anywhere in the DC area, we'd love you to pop by for that. This is what it looks like in general. And there's actually 2 of these rivers that come together, and we're putting the Martin bricks where the 2 rivers come together because Martin was a uniter. He was a community builder. He brought together amateurs and professionals. So that's kind of a nice symbolism there. And it was number 8 on the list, so I'm pleased to announce we're going to have 8 different bricks honoring Martin. And they're all going to say cool things about him. Number 9 takes place on the 9th of August, and this is the first Martin Gardner public lecture. It's a Centennial lecture, obviously this time, at the MAA meeting in Portland, Oregon. So if you're on the West Coast, please come to that. You'll enjoy the speaker. You know him well. Percy Diaconis is going to speak on the magic of Martin Gardner. And the abstract is hilarious because he says all these nice things about him and then says that he wrote terrible poetry. So if you're a fan of Martin's poetry, you might be slightly offended. I'm also pleased to say there will be a special on Martin and his influence all these 55, almost 60 years later since he started at Scientific American. And this is item number 10, so of course it's going to happen in the 10th month, which is October. The good news is this list does indeed go to 11, as it should for G4G11. There will be a special Centennial Celebration of Mind with an afternoon family event followed by an evening lecture at MoMath in New York on Saturday the 25th of October, a couple of days after Martin's birthday. So if you're anywhere in the New York City area, please tell your friends and come by to that. Well, Dr. I.J. Matrix, haven't heard from him for a while, but actually I noticed a piece of green paper on the table. They've been handing them out for the last few days. Apparently he was in town a few days ago on Wednesday night and we all missed him. The piece of paper tells the story and some interesting mathematical questions are raised. If you don't know who Owen O'Shea is, Google the name along with Dr. Matrix. There was an article about him in the New York Times about 3 years ago where he was declared to be the heir apparent of Dr. I.J. Matrix. But here's a question for you. What is the largest power in which all of its digits are prime? The answer is revealed on the green pages. Take it with you, but don't peek at the answer until you've had a chance to check it out. What is the smallest number? That is the sum of 3 squares in 6 different ways. And the third question, also revealed on the green pages, green, by the way, was Martin's favorite color, is what is the only number n such that between them, n and n to the 6th contain every digit from 1 to 9 exactly twice? Okay. Now, the shortest talk question, remember that one? I have 2 children, one is a boy born on a Tuesday. Last October there was a celebration of mine in Princeton and at MoMath in New York. And during the one at MoMath, I think it was during the dinner afterwards, I suddenly remembered that Martin had 2 children. Well, I was sitting across from Jim Gardner, so I had to ask the obvious question, are you a boy? No, I knew the answer to that one. I asked him if he knew what day of the week he was born. He said, I don't remember. Didn't remember finding out either. So I said, do you remember your birthday? He did. Guess who was on my other side? John Conway. It was a no-brainer. It turned out that not only does Martin Gardner have 2 children, one is a boy, and he was born on a Tuesday. So now it gets really interesting. What is the probability that he has 2 boys? Well, the other kid is Tom, so it's 1. It turns out to be easier than you thought. Easier than you thought. Okay, well, I'm going to leave you with my gift for G4G11, and it went live about 30 minutes ago. Thank you for coming and listening.